because we went out and bought a guy and gave him $1 million compensation, guaranteed in 2007 when MLS was not bringing in cash like that, and all he did was score a penalty kick, and then we shipped him out because he did next to nothing. And what's crazy is that we move him on, and 3 seasons later, we're in the MLS Cup final. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back again. Episode 3, the 3rd episode of Wake Up MLS, the only MLS themed show where your ball knowledge, super important, but not nearly as important as your ability to defend your picks and defend your takes. As normal, my name is Jose Tejas. I'm the primary host of the show. I am joined by an esteemed panel of co-hosts. I'm going to bring them in quick fire right now. Let's go ahead and get into it. We have Xiaoyan of Rave Green TV. We have John Rivera, Twitch streamer extraordinaire. We have AJ of Atlanta United Fan TV. And we have Ednan of We Are Austin TV. Guys, welcome in, boys. I'm excited to jump into the topic for today, which I have not announced yet, and I'm going to do that right now. We are here to talk about and rank the top 5 MLS transfer flops of all time. Any player to ever have come into this league. We've all made our picks. We've submitted them in. We've calculated the point totals. And we have a top 5 and an honorable mention 5. And as normal with this show, we will be starting with honorable mention. We're going to get right into it. And our first pick up, guys, we do have a keeper in the list. And oddly enough, I've said it a couple times on this show, keepers get no love. That probably holds true because this is not a great list. This is a worst 5, not a best 5. So for the very first pick up, I think it's pronounced Frank Rost. An interesting one that I think at the end of the day, I honestly, man, I didn't see a ton of Frank Rost. I don't remember watching him play too often, but his stats are fucking terrible. They're bad. They're really bad. A huge waste of money. And at the end of the day, John had him highest in his list. He was in my list as well, boys. He was in my list, but he wasn't as high as he had him as John had him. So let's start there. John, why was this keeper just a giant waste of transfer funds?
Because in 11 games, you spent $50,000 and you paid him $50,000 to play a single game. Per game, they paid him $50,000. Like, can we just talk about the grand scheme of things? A lot of people make 50 grand in a year. Some people don't. This motherfucker was making it in one game.
That's true.
How is that not crazy? Like, how are you, like, if you're going to have that poor of a record of only playing 11 games, plus you're a designated player. And on top of that, like, you retired 6 months after that or something like that. It was something like that. Just shortly after he wound up retiring.
A lot of flops with the Red Bulls, I think, over the years. When I kind of looked into this topic and just kind of like started picking apart this franchise, I mean, they do have more than a few in there. This guy transferred in as a German footballer, boys, and yeah, their first DP flopped hard as hell. It almost, in my mind, solidified the fact that maybe MLS shouldn't have these DP rules. Like how many designated players have actually not panned out, right? We could probably point to every one of our franchises and say, hey, a lot of these signings just didn't make sense for us.
Dozens.
Yeah, man, there's a ton in this list.
I would actually say that probably my club has the least DPs I've never hit because of our first ever DP being bad. That's why.
So you're saying the Sounders have had more DPs work out than most MLS franchises?
Yeah.
I'm just saying the Fire aren't like we're not in the discussion of like talking about having good DPs. Okay.
No, I was just throwing it out there. This isn't like mine wasn't even a brag. I was just when you think about it, Sounders usually don't miss with DPs. Funnily enough,
they do good business. And like John mentioned, equally the Fire somehow don't do great business. Even though you guys managed to like identify talent pretty well, but it's just like the execution piece of it all.
But our identifying of talent comes from our academy. Not really. It has nothing to do with
the draft a little bit.
Well, I guess a draft. But like in terms of like actually
names,
going out finding big names, it's not a thing. Like you can point at Shaqiri right now. Like what has he really done? Like the amount of money you pay him, it's not really worth it. And I can still say to this day, even though he's had a little bit of an impact now, he's starting to pick it up a little bit. It still, for me, doesn't justify the amount of money he's getting paid. There's a lot of like other players that we paid.
And he's definitely not bringing asses into seats either.
No, and he's not. And at this point, the market for how Chicago is and how big of a Latino market it could be if you bring in a big name. I don't know, like you can bring in. And I was saying this before, Raul Jimenez, before he joined Fulham, I would have loved to have him because we needed a striker. He was a goal scorer that I feel like would do well in MLS, and for the market that we had, it is perfect. It's just you're filling up the three things that you need, and he would bring people to the stadium to watch him play.
But what about Cuauhtemoc? Cuauhtemoc worked out well.
Yeah, that's one instant. You know what I mean? Like if you see that, like you would replicate that because I saw it because I was at the game when Chicharito came to play Chicago. In that game, that stadium was packed out. There was a lot of Mexicans there. Like it's already proven. I don't know. I don't feel like I can really say much more than that. But like, there's already a lot of things that are like proving that point is true. Cuauhtemoc's one of them. I know Chicharito didn't play for us or doesn't play for us, but when he did play in that stadium, they managed to get a lot of people at the stadium. So like, the market is there. Take advantage of it. That's my problem with the Fire.
Yeah, and who knows, guys? Maybe it's just again. We'll I know we talk about German football right now with Frank Ross, but I think at the end of the day, there's going to be. We talked about a little bit before we actually started the show today. We talked about Cuauhtemoc. There's a lot of Mexican players in this list. I don't know if that's a good omen or a bad one, but we're going to jump right into the next one. It's funny that Xiaoyan mentioned that they do DPs well. It's just interesting that he brings that up because our next honorable mention pick, Freddie Ljungberg.
Okay, I literally just said excluding the reason was because of the first guy.
Yeah, I mean a lot of money. How much money did Freddie make? Was it 10 million?
I don't know. Wasn't worth it. That's all I know.
Yeah, an Arsenal legend. This one hurts AJ, I think, and myself a whole lot more as Arsenal fans. Absolutely. I mean, the guy tore it up at Highbury. Yeah, literally a part of the single greatest squad, arguably, right, to ever play. And he just couldn't find his way in the Pac Northwest, man. I mean, not that he was like out and out terrible, right? We talked about Frank Ross, who was costing how much per game and did nothing. But you have this guy.
He just wasn't the same player. Yeah. He lost his pace. Yeah, and he just was a shell of himself.
He was just a big diva. That was the problem. If Freddie Ljungberg kind of just did his thing, was low key kind of poo poo, which he was, but he wasn't such a diva, then everything would have been like, it's fine. He was a bust, but it happens. But he was like a big diva, so he's like a little bit of a villain for Sounders fans. He never says anything bad, and we don't say anything bad about him. But he was a diva, and a lot of the players.
What made him a diva?
There's a story. I remember all the players in the inaugural season of the Sounders, because he was a part of the inaugural team. They did a Zoom call, and they brought somehow Freddie Ljungberg came. So everyone was there minus Freddie, because obviously Freddie's too big to be a part of that Zoom call.
Wait a minute. They did a Zoom call in the. How's that possible?
I think this was during the COVID time. But I could be wrong.
Okay,
I'm really digging in the archives here, but. They all were talking, and then Freddie Ljungberg comes up, and they're like, yeah, I remember it was like, stupid o'clock, just a stupid time. They were in their hotel. They were at an away game. Freddie Ljungberg asked one of the physicians, like, hey, I need to get one of those massage tables up to my room. I need to start getting a massage. Like, at a stupid time, apparently. And, like, they're all like, yeah, dude, I remember that. We were all trying to, like, go to sleep or something, and then Freddie Ljungberg was just being, like, just his diva self, but apparently, he just thought he was better than everyone else, which obviously the numbers didn't represent that one bit.
And somehow from that performance, the Fire thought it was a good idea to pick him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and then they traded him to you.
Yeah. So how does I just don't get it. Like I said,
I think it's brand name recognition. It's just putting asses in seats. Like at the end of the day.
But at the end of the day, who's really going to go in Chicago? Is going to go watch Freddie Ljungberg?
I don't know. Arsenal fans? I mean, more than anything else. It wasn't Sounders fans for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And I think this was the biggest blessing in disguise for Sounders fans, because from then on, their DPs just pretty much always hit for the most. Like, they were really, well equipped when it came to signing a designated player because of Freddie Ljungberg. That was probably his biggest contribution. He was our biggest L to only having pretty much success from there with designated players.
I feel that.
Which is pretty much part of that. It's you guys... Yeah, you guys learned. Sorry to cut you off, but you guys learned that basically big names don't equate to a big player in this league.
And to piggyback off that point, for the most part, once you have that experience of not having someone like that fail you, why are you going to do that again? There's nothing to motivate you to bring someone like that again. So it makes you take a look at the person that you're going to sign a lot more than you probably would. Just based off the things that they've done in their past, I think, and more recent stuff, not what they did, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like, because I don't think that will matter today. You know what I mean?
Unless you're Messi, in which case,
right.
It's just, GOAT, brand name recognition. It doesn't matter what he did at PSG. You're going to give him an arm and a leg to bring him to the MLS anyway.
And it's this too. It's like, if you bring in someone that is from Europe that is like on the level of David Beckham, that makes sense. There's actually, you have that level where you can bring asses in seats. Freddie Ljungberg, love him. He also is a underwear model, but not at the level of David Beckham.
So. I didn't know that. But I mean, I believe it. I believe it 100%.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that you know that fact, bro. it's one of those weird facts.
I'm an Arsenal fan. What do you think?
Dude, he knows ins and outs to every player's life.
Hey, bro. I will not hate anybody on that Invincibles roster is pretty goated in my opinion. And so that's why I think, it's interesting when you talk about Freddie Ljungberg's time in Seattle and getting an opinion from a Sounders fan versus the rest of the league. Because the rest of the league, I just saw someone who came and treated it like a retirement league versus someone who I didn't know he was a giant diva. I think that's crazy. It makes sense, but I just didn't know that. I think it's awesome that he was that bad. All right, guys, moving on to the next pick.
Yeah, I think he's like super humble now.
Yeah,
like
maybe
as a coach, super humble.
Maybe. I've heard him on Paramount Plus when he does some of the commentary for like Europa League or like whatever. I don't know. He kind of sometimes he'll make fun of players in weird ways. It's just he's an interesting guy. That's all I'm saying.
It's the Swedish banter. We just don't get it.
Yeah, but it's kind of low blows.
I know.
Bro, like, what are we doing?
No, I agree. And it's whatever. It does. Luckily, somehow Seattle were able to sell him to Chicago, no problem, scuff free, and it was all good from there, pretty much.
Yeah, we're just an A+ club. This is what we do. We help people solve their problems.
You're just making dreams come true over there, Chicago. I love it.
Yeah, we just love just swimming in hope. That's what we love doing.
And speaking of players who'd probably treat this league as a retirement league, I think the next guy is no exception to that. And we all could probably talk about from a number of perspectives. Andrea Pirlo, a legend in his own right in Europe. I think in Italy, he's probably held in such a massive regard that you can't really shit on him over there. But here, man, I honestly can't think of a single highlight in my head from Pirlo in the MLS. I just can't think of any.
Maybe a free kick.
I don't know if he needs to be in the honorable mentions, though. I don't know. I think there's people higher on this list.
Yeah, I think that there would be people higher. And the reason why I would not put him on here is because of the age that he came in. You know what I mean? What do you really expect at the age that you come in? You can't really – he doesn't really have the legs for that. And especially for the position that he played, what sort of impact are you really providing? That's just a lot of things that I see. Messi's doing it right now at 36, and that's fine. But that's Messi. Not everyone can do that.
I don't think Pirlo ever had legs, did he? He was always just kind of a center mid that was just controlling and dictating the tempo.
But
he's like your OG Regista,
exactly deep line playmaker, and
and that just doesn't fit in MLS.
He's a misfit for the league, but he's still too high on this list because he was on some good NYCFC teams. It's just that he's not a physical player, and this league requires physicality for most of the positions, except for Messi, where it doesn't really matter.
The guy has unreal passing metrics, but he's not a statistical kind of player where he gets goals, gets assists. That's just not his role. And obviously, as AJ said, it's just this league doesn't fit him. And I think the only reason he's not higher on this list, because honestly, he was pretty bad in MLS, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because the reason he's a lot lower, and I think he deservedly should be in the honorable mentions, is because if you know Pirlo, he technically didn't do anything wrong. That's the reality. He just was himself, but that's just not how MLS is built. We love those Tyler Adams, those kind of box-to-box midfielders, and he just isn't that guy. And the other reason is because there was worse players.
I think also, though, to the point, you got to realize what time he came through. He's coming through at the point where the league was kind of changing into that younger sort of mold, there was more younger players coming through. So obviously the speed is going to increase with you having younger players. Speed's going to increase. Physicality is going to increase because all that stuff that makes the older players in terms of like what you would say is like the passing, their IQ, the footballing IQ of a younger player is just like, I'm gonna just keep running because I have that physical ability to do that. And he was, and that's just not gonna be there with him. So like, the league was transitioning into that. So he kind of just, I feel like if he would have came in at a different point in the league, maybe he would have done better than what he did. But I just don't see. I just think that the timing of the signing was not correct for the timing of where the league was trying to transition into, if that makes sense.
That's fair. That's a fair shout. I think at the end of the day, yeah. I mean, I don't shit on Pirlo. Like I said, the best way I could describe his time in MLS is that I cannot remember a single highlight. I don't remember what impact he left in the league. I don't know if he even left MLS better than he found it. And I think he was pretty quick to kind of transition into his coaching career soon after he left. And New York City FC, I'm sure, is grateful for that level of brand recognition when they were just launching their franchise. But that's really it. I just don't think you had other big name players come like David Villa and leave a much bigger impact on that club. Granted, completely different position. He's kind of built for it. He was a striker, but I think they just probably wanted more out of him, and he didn't deliver. So I think he deserves to be in this honorable mention. With that said, moving into the next pick, we're kind of breezing through his honorable mention picks. The second one, and then we'll go to number one, and then we'll go into our top five. Fittingly, I am rocking an Inter Miami kit, not for this guy, for the GOAT, but he is in this list. Rodolfo Pizarro. Man, what can we say about Pizarro that wasn't said in the hype train that came in when he was brought into the league? I'm going to go back to who picked him the highest up in this list, and we'll kind of start from there. It really was a tie between John and Xiaoyan. You guys really did not like his time in the league, and it really hasn't been good. Do you think he deserves to be higher, though, Xiaoyan?
No. Again, there's worse players.
There's worse players than him?
Yep. He was unfortunately just on a bad team, too. That didn't help.
I think the combination of being on a bad team, also on a team that, I don't know, the whole, like, it's Beckham's team and the whole expectation. I feel like people probably looked at Inter with more. So you know how St. Louis right now, there was really no expectation. They're blowing everyone out the water in terms of how they're doing and how they're performing. I think if Inter Miami would have came into the league like that, maybe you don't even like consider him at all to this. But I think it's to the point where he was one of their first signings. It was one of the signings to get the club started. He was a big name, youngish player, Mexican player at the time when he did join Inter Miami. He had numerous offers from multiple different clubs in Europe. I think AC Milan was one of them. Yeah. I can't think of the top of my head the other clubs, but like he was a player that was highly touted for in Europe that ultimately decided to go for the money and go to MLS, which a lot of the Spanish media critiqued at the time because this is a player that had the potential to have had a better career. And I think with this move and the decision that he made career-wise affected his improvement and his development in the game, because he wound up getting loaned back to Monterrey. Like Monterrey didn't want him. He goes back to Inter, and Inter still don't want him. So like, this is a player that you wasted so much money on, and he's done really realistically nothing for you.
And it was super controversial the way he came into the league.
Yeah,
remember.
For sure.
And he got the thing is, out of all these players, I think he's the only one to have his contract cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutually terminated, I guess.
And then he's talking bad about the team and the league afterwards too. So it's yeah.
Isn't he in Greece right now? I mean, it's not like he stepped his shit up.
He went to AEK Athens to play with my fellow Iranian boys out there, you know.
But the only reason he signed with them was because the Chivas coach Almeida is the coach of Atkins. So like he already worked under him when he was at Chivas. So like it's already that was already gonna happen. Like I don't know, like I can't really say that it's a step up. It was something. It was an opportunity that he obviously was gonna take. Like I don't know.
It was a
I want to say this. I want to say this on him. When he was with Chivas, maybe we can argue here and say that was the best version of Pizarro. When he was with Chivas and they took the CCL from Toronto, which would have been a historical trouble for them, if I'm not mistaken. When they took that trophy from them, that was a special Chivas team. Almeida was the coach. Pulido was there. Pizarro was there. There were a lot of good young Mexican players in that team. The move to MLS, just like you said, bro, was very controversial. And I think that instead of going to the MLS, the better option, the better move was to go to Europe. But I think money was involved. Maybe you could argue that that wasn't the best moment for him. But coming out of that Chivas high, I think instead of coming to MLS, Europe would have been better for him. I think he really didn't want to be here at all, and I think that reflected on his performances on the field because he was honest, bro. I thought he was going to be higher on this list. Dead ass.
And truthfully, even when he made the move, the little minutes that he got with Mexico, he did arguably look better when he was playing with the national team than he did with Inter. Like, I think, and at the time too, like you're talking about an AC Milan that was at that point rebuilding. They're not what they weren't at the time what they are now, obviously, but they were rebuilding and they were building onto something like what they have today. So like, why not be a part of that? You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's a little frustrating as a Mexican fan because it's a player that I felt like it could have developed and we could have gotten more out of had he just had a better decision. Like, 100%. Had you made a better decision while making that career move, we'd probably be talking about a player that was in the national team for the longest time, but he just doesn't get those looks because of what he's done. Like, I don't know. You come back to Mexico and you still play like shit. To me, like, I don't know how I could really defend you. Like,
yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
that was well said.
Yeah, well said. I agree. I agree with Ednon. I think he should have been higher in the list. For me, anyway, he was higher in the list. Okay.
I'm tired of the Rodolfo Pizarro
at least he's wearing
slander.
pants this time.
True. Very, very true. Very true. And you missed a hell of a recording on the last one.
Yeah,
my.
Hands.
Oh my.
I'm tired of the slander on Rodolfo Pizarro. He's playing for the best team
in
the world.
In the world.
Whoa.
I was about to say.
Whoa.
AAK Athens, baby. Big ups to the Athens.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what? I hope he's making you proud in Greece, but at the end of the day, I think I agree with Ednon. I think he had so much opportunity. You almost wonder what if with this player a lot. In many
he had
instances.
so much potential.
So much potential.
Don't get me wrong. I still hope that he does well in Greece, and I hope that he balls out. But
with Pineda,
I don't know. I don't know. It could be
Pineda, who was also
on that team
of that Chivas team,
and he was heavily criticized for going to Greece, and now he's looking kind of. I mean, he's good at AAK. Granted, it is Greece, but
Cheyenne, do his dance.
I don't know. I
can't do that dance. I can't do that dance.
I don't even know. I don't know what the dance is.
YouTube
it. He did it when they won the Gold Cup final. He did it in the little kind of when they got together.
Pineda?
Yeah.
For me, it's a song that they put with it, bro. That's
yes. It's
song,
everything.
bro.
It's the whole thing. The whole thing's amazing. I love it. All right, boys. We're moving on to the next pick. I think Pizarro. I think it's kind of surprising to me. He's in the honorable mention. I had him higher, but at the end of the day, it's he does belong in a top 10 worst flops in MLS history, transfer wise. Now. On to number 2 in the honorable mentions. This one for me, I'll say it right now. He was the highest in my list, and it's because my team was the most impacted by it. I think Denilson.
Oh yeah,
dude, I'm so doing that dance next time I score.
He saw it.
Dude, that's so cool.
It's tougher than it looks, bro. It's tougher than it looks. So with Denilson, look, guys. I mean, I think if you weren't watching Major League Soccer back in the early 2000s, this is one of those guys that when we talk about the impact that guys like David Beckham left on this league, Denilson was supposed to be part of that impact. He kind of followed Beckham into the league, came to NC Dallas in 2007. It is the last time Dallas went out of our way, kind of like with the Sounders and Freddie Ljungberg, is the last time we went out of our way to buy like a big name European player, a World Cup winner. Someone who lasted, 8 matches, played the latter half of a season, a free kick specialist whose single goal was a penalty kick. Like, just terrible, bro. Just all the way around. And in 2007 was guaranteed $1 million. In 2007 was guaranteed $1 million compensation.
Wait, guys. Can you just not tell how happy Jose was from this transfer? Like I could just tell he was so happy that FC Dallas signed Denilson.
Yeah, he's got his tongue in his cheek. Yeah,
Yeah, bro, 1,000%. You can see it all the way through. I'm just grinning from ear to ear. I think at the end of the day, bro, Denilson, for being what he was overseas in Europe, dude, it's crazy to me, bro. Denilson did not deserve to play in Major League Soccer. He just was not good enough. Like, did not
Didn't
deserve
he win
it.
a World Cup in 2002?
Yes.
Yeah.
Won a
He was
World
part of
Cup
that team,
in
right?
2002. A
So,
free kick
like-
specialist, bro, and his only moment was a penalty kick.
Dude, I'd say that's a 10 out of 10
But-
signing.
You can't say that a World Cup winner doesn't deserve to play in MLS at that time, mate. That's a bold statement.
It's fine.
I mean,
I'll take it.
excuse
I'll take
me.
it. Yeah, bro.
Excuse
Didn't
me.
deserve it. If that's what we knew we were getting when we got him, there was no point. Dallas
That
now,
is 2020.
it's yes, but Dallas now has this philosophy on only using DP slots on like young South American talent or homegrown academy products. And it's because of this motherfucker. It's because we went out and bought a guy and gave him $1 million compensation, guaranteed in 2007 when MLS was not bringing in cash like that. And
True.
all he did
True.
was score a penalty kick, and then we shipped him out because he did next to nothing. Mutually trying to make the contract. Get him out of
Jose's first heartbreak wasn't a girl; it was Denilson.
Bro, facts. I will 1,000% say that, man. And what's crazy is that we move him on, and 3 seasons later, we're in the MLS Cup final. Like it blows my mind how he did next to nothing for this team.
Okay.
Bro.
And
Next to
to
nothing.
All right.
To prove your point on like DP players, bro, I can say this with full chest. The Fire play better when Shaqiri's not on the pitch because Gutierrez slides in the middle. And I'm just saying this to the point that like
He just scored a banger for you guys like a week ago.
Yeah, but listen. The team,
Let him cook. Let him
the team
cook.
as a whole performs better when he's off the pitch because I think the unity that other players can bring, I think without having the pressure of having a big name around you, also elite, like it helps your team out. So when teams bring in big player names, they're not always going to work out at the end of the day. Like it's, I think you realize that too. Like sometimes you don't need those players as much as you might feel like you do. Sometimes you really don't.
Yeah.
Because FC Dallas's academy is insane. How many players have you not produced? You know what I mean?
Dude, honestly, players in
Pepe,
Europe
like
just suck, man.
yeah, like I mean, you can. The list goes on with FC Dallas. Like you don't really need to like
You
look
don't.
any further than your academy. You know?
Yeah,
You
and that's why
have-
we
you
don't.
have the
That's why we
players.
don't. I mean, like since then, since Nilsson, maybe Breck Shea, I think he's like the next big guy that's like come in and like granted, it wasn't like a big splashy transfer that we made, right? He had, I would say his early days with FC Dallas got it, helped get us to with Ferreira 1.0, right? Jesus Ferreira's dad, David Ferreira. I think that there's just
The real Ferreira.
the real Ferreira, bro. That guy was
He
amazing.
was
to
so
watch, man.
good.
So damn
Dude
good.
makes his son look like an absolute peasant.
It's crazy that that's
It's 'cause his son's a
that's
post
egregious,
merchant, bro.
That's crazy, but
He's a post merchant.
he's an MLS merchant. Okay, he can't.
No, he's a
perform at the
post
national team
merchant.
level, but he scores goals, bro.
Nah,
He's
but
like-
dude, his
five
dad
to
was
win the
so good. Like that's when I started watching MLS, and I was just like, "Who's this guy?"
bro,
But
he
was
would
just
carry.
so
He
good.
would carry Dallas, and in a way
Oh
that
my
Jesus Ferreira is just not carrying our team now. Like it's, dude, he did everything. He did everything. I mean, a lot of similarities between father and son.
And he was just
But-
also just like a good guy. Like you could just tell. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I liked him a lot. Like I was a big fan of him too.
Yeah, back then in 2010, it was him and Breck Shea. That's it. But Denilson, man, he was supposed to be a guy that we were going to build a lot around at 30 years old. Still
Legacy,
had juice. in the tank.
dynasty.
Yeah, 30
Except
years old. Bro.
Jose Heartbreak instead.
Trash, bro. just a complete waste of money, waste of a signing. Get the hell out of our
Dude,
club.
let's
I'm
start.
going with that.
Everyone sending the hate mail to Denilson now.
I'm on board. I'll write the first letter. All right, moving on. That guys, look, that is our number 1 pick for honorable mention. Okay, so now moving into our top 5. These are the top 5 MLS transfer flops of all time. And boys, we got some doozies. I mean, I can't really stress it enough. A lot of it pains me to say it. It pains, I'm sure, Ednan, John, a lot of Mexican talent that just didn't pan out in Major League Soccer. It's so heartbreaking, but we're not going to start there. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. We don't have a Galaxy fan here today, but this one's probably like a no-brainer from my perspective. All right. Stevie G.
Yeah.
The number 5 pick
100%.
was meant to kind of be I don't think the signing that Beckham was by any means, but he was leaving Europe on a major high, at least in terms of accolades, everything he had done. I thought he was going to just really kind of just beef up LA Galaxy in a massive way. And he was just very lukewarm, bro. Very mediocre. Just, I don't know. A Pirlo-esque signing.
Nice.
Pirlo.
Mediocre's putting it real nice.
Was he more or less impactful than Andrea Pirlo?
About the same, maybe a little more.
So why is he in one of the worst five and not Pirlo?
I think it's because of the hype and the cameras and the limelight that the Galaxy brings.
It's just LA, dude. You would expect more.
Gerard just has a bigger name than Pirlo, for sure.
But Pirlo was in New York.
Pirlo was also a World Cup winner, though. So
I don't know.
The thing is I don't know. For me, like, I didn't think Gerard was gonna be that good. Like, I didn't think he was gonna like win an MLS Cup. But I didn't think he was going to be that bad, you know? And his team was pretty good. Like, they had Dos Santos. They had Aquino. Like, they had good players.
They had Aquino. Gio Dos Santos arguably also kind of a trash player.
No, Gio was okay in his first season. He was okay. He was okay.
I wouldn't say he was bad. I'd say he was okay.
For the expectation, he was bad. For the expectation, he was bad. But same thing with Gerard. Gerard, for the expectation, bro, like it's not like he was coming from fucking Greece, right? Again,
but also, how old was he when he got here, though?
And also, like, Liverpool were kind of poo-poo back then.
Okay, they were coming down.
Right, but he slipped and they could have won a Prem, so, you know, there's that, too.
Yes, the famous slip and fall, the Dembaba goal, he completely bottled that for them. But, like, I don't know, bro. Like, Liverpool was, yes, on their way down, but I don't think it impacted his stock as a player. Gerard was still a staple in that side, the captain. And then he comes to LA Galaxy and it's just meh. Just like I don't know, just not fun to watch. Just I don't know, man. But top 5 worst all time. I mean, let's see who had him highest in the list. Let me pull back my sheet up here really quickly. The highest was AJ. He was really bad according to AJ. AJ, why was he arguably the worst signing or the worst transfer flop in history?
Because he's a Champions League player, like winning player. And he's the captain of Liverpool. There's expectations that go along with that. Before Man U became Man U, like Liverpool as a club, the most winning in the Prem, or at least in Europe or England rather. And so it's like this level of a player should do more. And arguably, it's like nothing of note. Like it's just like he looked like a shell of himself. He looked unconfident. He looked like a player that
he looked out of place too.
Was coming into this league. Yeah, he looked like a player like young coming into this league versus like a world beater to a degree. And it's a player that a lot of people had, I think, more expectations out of, and it's just like Gerard sucked. It's like what in MLS?
Yeah,
How?
I don't know. I have no idea. And look, I expected this guy to be in John's list. He wasn't at all. I figured the Liverpool hater of all of them would have been like, you know what?
The only reason I didn't include him was because the age. Like I don't know. I personally I wouldn't have expected it for him to do that much at the age.
He doesn't have like young man skills. It's like, he was always the same type of player. It's like, you run the game through him. And he just wasn't running anything. He wasn't running.
Dude, he had some fucking golazos, though. I mean, like not in MLS. I'm saying overseas. At least you saw that. He wasn't like this guy that was box to box. I mean, he kind of was, but he had the legs to crank some into the net in Europe, and he did none of that shit in Major League Soccer. Like, not even a little bit.
And the thing is, we're all neutrals just talking about. Imagine what Galaxy fans would say about this.
Some of them will probably blindly support him the way that you, before this show today, you were talking about, Sounders fans blindly supporting some of those players. I think there's a lot of that in Major League Soccer, a lot of nepotism. And I don't think that this gets talked about enough. I'm sorry, bro. I mean, there just is. I think that sometimes, there's a lot of blind faith shown, and it sometimes clouds judgment when it comes to ball knowledge. And I can just imagine the Galaxy being a team that just, rallies behind their own, and props to them. But I'm sorry, he was ass. Like, he just wasn't good. Anybody in disagreement? We're good here? Let's do it. All right. Gerard, number 5. Okay. Not a massive surprise, I don't think. I
should
think
be higher.
He was really in there. Should be higher. But it is kind of is what it is. AJ had him really, really high. But with that said, moving on to the next one, our number 4 pick. This one, he was worse than Gerrard. I just think he was. To me, all the way through, a legendary European career in a number of different ways. Mr. Frank Lampard. Dude, talk about a guy just...
I knew it.
Man.
I knew it.
It's just talk about a guy who really had, like, I don't know, was Champions League winner, Premier League winner with Chelsea, a Chelsea icon and legend, coming to the States. Oh, New York City FC still pretty brand new, gonna help rev up that club in a number of different ways, and it kind of just fell flat. Almost, I mean, again, he was loaned out almost immediately back to Manchester City as part of the City group, right? They all kind of work together, all those kinds of teams, those partnerships. The person who had him the highest in terms of being the worst transfer was Ednan. He was very high up in his list. Ednan, why is Frank Lampard the worst transfer flop of all time, in your opinion?
Well, not necessarily the worst, you know what I'm saying? But he was high on my list just because of the amount of money he was making. The very similar to Gerrard, very similar to what we've been saying about Pirlo. The guy was going to come in and help out the league, insane quality. We saw what he did in Chelsea. He went on to City. Just like John's been saying, the age is, something big. But, I mean, this guy, the amount of money he's making, just not good enough, bro.
I don't think the age thing is a thing. I think he went back to City. Like, he went back to play in the Prem.
Yeah, he went back to City, but did City win a Prem?
And then he scored against Chelsea.
But did City win a Prem that season?
But still, you still have to be, you have to have juice in the legs to play in the fucking Prem. Doesn't matter what era we're talking about. And he's still,
I don't know.
Not when you're Frank Lampard. Not when you're Frank Lampard.
Hold on, let's look this up.
Bro,
let's be real, mate.
He just was I think he was worse than both Pirlo and Gerrard, hands down. He wasn't my number 1 pick, but he was definitely worse than both of those players.
No, guys.
I'll give it to you.
You disagree?
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
He played 32 games. He played 32 games.
Worse than Gerrard.
I'll give it to you.
No, guys. I don't think he's worse than Gerrard. Like, I think AJ can agree with that. He was not worse than Gerrard. He had one good season, an actual good season with NYCFC. We all keep forgetting. In 2016, he had 12 goals, some assists for a center midfielder. That's a good season. Like, the fact he's at number 4 is a little bit ludicrous. I don't disagree that he should be on this list, but I think Gerrard should be. Gerrard didn't have a single good season.
Gerrard's higher.
I feel like there's players on this list that can be higher than Lampard.
Yeah, and I think Pirlo should be higher than Lampard.
Yeah, agreed.
I just think this is too high. I don't say I think Frank should maybe have been in the honorable mentions, but not in the top 5. Like, he actually had a good year. Like, he scored in the playoffs too. He scored a hat trick in MLS. He's had a good season in MLS.
I don't know. I think maybe it's the expectation. Maybe I was expecting more of Frank Lampard coming into this into
that could be
his career, and I thought I don't know. And again, right? We talked about it before. Chelsea legend, Champions League winner, and arguably, for me, Pirlo probably. I don't know about the Gerrard pick being higher, but the Pirlo pick you could argue could be higher because he's a World Cup winner. But at the end of the day,
they played on the same team.
But it's the same team, though.
That's what I'm saying. And picking between those two players, it's kind of difficult. They were both pretty damn bad, in my opinion.
But isn't it kind of funny though that NYCFC gambled on this midfield and they both ended up being so bad?
It's not funny. It's just bad. It's fucking bad.
I know it's funny to me. That's bad business.
The thing is, I agree. Lampard is a flop, but again, we all keep forgetting he had a good season. Like, compared to everybody on this list, so far we've spoken about, he's had a good season.
I must demand
how many
more
of the
of
players that you were literally ranting about a guy only scoring a penalty. John was ranting about a guy.
No, it's true. But he only played he was so bad. Nilsson was so bad. And yes, I had him as my number 1. He was my worst transfer of all time. That's what I'm saying. Lampard wasn't that high, but nobody else picked a Nilsson, so it is what it is. But for the sake of the group, I understand Lampard being top 5 because the expectation was there. And not just that, the expectation raises when you go to the Premier League and play 30+ matches and then come back. Like, dude, you obviously have the level.
It was injuries that just hurt him. And at his age, that was the thing that hampered him. He just had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
But when he was fit in 2016, he had a good year. The problem was outside of that, he was hurt often. So I agree he should be on the list, just not as high up because unlike all the players we've spoken about, he has scored a hat trick. He has been in the playoffs. He's been a big player for them in the playoffs. He's actually had a arguably an MLS best 11 midfield season.
Best 11's a stretch, but I think he had
12 goals for a center mid.
If the center mid is
Making
somebody else, yes, it's Frank Lampard.
$6 million a year, mate. $6 million. Insane amount of money for that time.
Okay.
Insane
You know what I'm
amount-
saying? Like,
insane
it's just the
amount of money for
expectation that
time.
comes along with
But,
all of
but
that.
at the time in MLS, 12 goals for a midfielder is good, even if it is or is not Frank Lampard.
And equally, at that time in MLS, $6 million is insane for MLS.
Okay, yes,
men.
I agree, but he still did well for a season.
I feel like though
I'll give you that.
to that point, if we're gonna put Lampard as high, I think we got to put Pirlo even higher.
That's what I'm saying.
I get his point. He's making a valid point. Like, I think for them both being on the same team and as poorly as Pirlo performed, could you not argue that Pirlo would be higher?
And the same thing with Gerrard. Like, Gerrard was never good, like, at all. And his team was better.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think those three are they came in very, very close to one another too. Like, that whole era of MLS was just interesting because they were all coming at the same time.
And the thing is, Pirlo and Gerrard together didn't score as many goals as Frank Lampard did in MLS. Not even close.
That's the point. Like, they're coming from a generation of that midfield. You know what I mean? Like, that generation of midfield that they are around the same terms, like, era. They're from the same era. So, like, for them to come in at the league at the same time, and then for all three of them to perform as bad, I mean, I don't know. Can you?
I don't know, guys. In 2016, in 21 games, had 12 goals and 2 assists.
I'm not disagreeing. That's a great stat line. It looks
that's
good.
actually pretty good.
And hold on, but did you say one of those? Okay, center midfielder. That's fantastic. 25% of those goals came in one game, right?
He did score a hattie in a game, I believe. I remember watching that game.
Okay. So I don't know. Again, I think, ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But at the end, I just expected more from Lampard.
It was just injuries that killed him. That was it. If you look at all of his stats and stuff, yeah, he scored a hat trick against the Colorado Rapids. It's just injuries. All the games.
It's the Rapids.
I score a hat trick against the Colorado Rapids, bro.
Hey, we're gonna have to put it to the test. Bro. We're gonna have to put it to the test.
We will. We definitely will put that to the test. And we'll talk more about the summer of foot at a later time. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. At some point, we need to do a start, sit, sell for Lampard, Pirlo, and Gerrard. I think that's
that's crazy.
Very interesting.
It's arguing for who's more really shit. Easy. It's just arguing for who's more shit.
Pick your poison. Pick your poison. Yeah, man. I think Lampard he could have been better. Could have been a lot better. But at the end of the day, he wasn't just about everybody's list. He was just all over the place for the most part. All right, guys, moving into our top three. And God, this top three is going to pain me in a number of different ways, but like it is what it is. I had so much hope for so many of these guys, and I think a lot of us did. Number 3, Giovanni Dos Santos. I think you have to put him here for the expectation, bro. And granted, this guy has been hyped up his entire damn career. The entire career. From his young days at Barcelona, the next Ronaldinho was what he was being called. Him and Messi were kind of coming up together at the same time, and they arguably had a Dino and a Maradona in the same roster, and everybody was super hyped. And it really kind of went nowhere. He spent time at Tottenham, went to LA Galaxy. His best days were probably at Mexico, to be fair. I mean, he has one of the most iconic goals in history of the country.
Iconic goal,
but against Netherlands?
I think
against
Villarreal. I think Villarreal you could argue was his best days.
Yeah, no, Villarreal.
Actually, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I'm saying, just in terms of what he's kind of remembered for, I think there's a lot to like about Giovanni Dos Santos. But again, with the Lampard argument, it's almost the same thing. It's the expectation. I had a ton. John, Hernan, how excited were you guys for Giovanni Dos Santos when he was coming into the league?
Like, I'm gonna be real.
No, go ahead. No, you go first.
Stop referring to each other.
Hernan, go first.
May, by the time that he was coming around to the MLS, my hope had already kind of died in him. To be honest with you, now he had extreme potential. Everything you've been saying was spot on. But by the time that he was rolling into the MLS, that told me one thing: like, okay, he's done. You know what I'm saying?
So are we saying that at the time Dos Santos came into this league, do we still think that we were still at that retirement league level and he was just going to come in and shit on people?
It was changing, but it wasn't to that, to that level of Lampard and Steven Gerrard. I think Giovanni Dos Santos, he could have made this league better, just like what Shayan was saying. Did he make the league better? How was it after he had left? I mean, he came at a time where he could have done real damage and made an impact, I guess you could say. Going into LA, you're Gio Dos Santos. You got one of the most iconic goals in Mexican history. I mean, it could have been a lot more. You know what I'm saying? And it is
especially
what
in
it
that state, especially in the state. He did it at the Rose Bowl. He did it at
Yeah.
the Rose Bowl. That goal came at the Rose Bowl. Like, I think for me, what it really comes down to is like, I didn't think that like him at the club level even ever worked out. I honestly don't rate him at the club level. It's the only memories I have of him doing great things are at the national team level.
That's a huge fact. Oh my God.
the U17 World Cup. You got the Gold Cup in 2011. You got the 2014 World Cup when he scored against the Netherlands, and that goal was a very good goal. It came from a distance, and it was a distance shot, and yes, it hit the post. And you can argue that had that game got different, we would be talking about something else, and maybe he would have done some
to the Mexican
hell of
national
performances.
team
No, but it's the truth. Like had they gone through, maybe you could talk about he would have had one of the greatest tournaments probably of any Mexican player ever. But to the point where he's coming into the league, like it's not, I don't know, like he didn't really do much because like Galaxy didn't really win anything.
I'll play devil's advocate.
And arguably his brother. Arguably his brother had a better
Jonathan.
career.
Jonathan had a better career, I think.
I would argue that.
Yeah,
I would argue that 100%.
It's not even an argument. It's just a fact.
Yeah, he had a better career easily. And what's sad is both of them came out and being a Barca fan, both of them, just had that so much potential. But when they were even playing together, Jonathan looked like he was just more grounded in the team. You know what I mean? Like he looked like just more comfortable all the way around. But were you gonna say Xiaoyan to play devil's advocate?
Oh, I was just gonna say when I was looking at just kind of doing a refresher, Giovanni did play his most games at the LA Galaxy and actually did have his best stats at the LA Galaxy.
He did. I mean, it was like 20 plus goals over the course of like almost 80 games.
And he always scored against the Sounders.
He was making $7 million. He was making $7 million.
Oh yeah, no, he still deserves to be at 3. I totally agree. I put him at 3. But I'm just saying he did play. Funnily enough, for a guy that was very hyped, it's because of the early on hype. He did play most of his games with the Galaxy, scored most of his goals with the Galaxy in regards to club level. Yeah, I don't know. As AJ once said, there's the infamous line: "Every player that plays on Mexico is cursed."
Oh God! Yeah, what is it? Everyone fails at Mexico.
Everyone fails at Mexico.
Hey, Alan Pulido, man. Alan Pulido. That's what I'm gonna say. Turn it up right now. For real? No, he just is. He just is.
You know what? Maybe it's that Medica bias, John. Maybe hey, bro. He did have that very. I don't even know. Brief's not a strong enough word.
I wouldn't even call it a stint, bro. That was
he signed for a deal that got nowhere close to being finished.
Yeah, but he signed because that was his favorite club growing up. So like, I get it. Like like I would do the same. But at the same time, like I don't know. He doesn't have a club right now. He's not retired yet. No club really wants him. No one's really taking.
And bro, Saudi just opened up the tryouts, right? I mean, shit, he might end up in the Saudi.
I don't think he's gonna end up in Saudi though. Would you pick him up at this point? I don't think he's got the amount of injuries he also picked up. Also didn't help his career though, too.
Yeah.
To that point.
Yeah.
Like it hurt his development a lot. So
let me ask you guys this: who's a bigger? And this is for anybody who's watching. This is going to be a comparison to a player currently on the roster. Who's a bigger flop in your opinion? Because he's not on this list today. Giovanni Dos Santos or Douglas Costa?
Douglas Costa. Douglas Costa for sure.
Then why did he not make into more of these lists then?
He was in mine.
Yeah, you're right. But why did he not make it to more of these lists? I think you're the only one. There may be 2 people that mentioned him.
I think it's just too recent. But at the same time, you gotta remember the pedigree of coming from playing at a team of Bayern. Who else did he play for? Did he play for Inter as well? No, was it Juventus?
To be fair, the expectations with Giovanni Dos Santos compared to Douglas Costa, I think it's one. Also, we do have 3 Mexicans in this list in the panel, so that probably does play a part.
Diane, I'm also Mexican.
Okay, how was I supposed to know that?
Oh, that's great. That's
great, bro.
Okay, everyone
I can't
is Mexican, and I apparently look Mexican, so that probably plays a part in it. And 2, there was also you can hear it in everyone's voice. The bitterness of the potential Giovanni Dos Santos had was insane, and we already knew going into this Douglas Costa was washed. Like, bro was playing in the 2nd division in Brazil. Coming here, what were the Galaxy expecting?
Division though, because they got relegated, because he was a cause of that relegation. If you ask people that were watching Gremio or are Gremio fans, that's literally what they talk about. He came in, robbed the team, and he left them relegated.
So, like, what do you expect? Did the Galaxy expect him to just turn it around for him?
I don't know. He also,
I think he's a
big, by
bigger
the way.
name. He's a bigger name than Douglas Costa.
Yes,
It's fair.
Oh, Giovanni. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
the expectation. And when he scored on his debut for the Galaxy in the Champions League, he like made the, I remember this back in 2015, whatever it was. He made the Ballon d'Or long list. Like he made that list. Giovanni Dos Santos. He made that long, not the short list, not the 25, right? But like the 100+ players. He made the long list of that talent. So like there was so much hype around him at the time. That's why he was high up in my list in terms of where he kind of sits amongst us for Gio. Xiaoyan had him the highest. I had him the second highest. I think that
maybe I'm the Mexican.
All right. Anyway, moving on to the next one. All right. So Gio was very, very high. I think he deserved to be up there. The expectation was massive for him. And I think the expectation for this next guy, this is easily one of John's favorite players. I can't wait to roll him out. Number 2, Neri Castillo. Yes. Talking about a hype train that went absolutely nowhere, boys. Absolutely nowhere.
I don't know who this is.
There you go. That's the point. There you go. Neri Castillo was the epitome of potential. Like just literally the epitome of the potential.
Think about what Vela turned into, but hype times like 2.
Yeah.
Like at his young age,
everywhere.
Well, no, but this guy had the ego of like a Zlatan, bro. If you know the stories behind Neri Castillo as who he was and the way that he acted around the Mexican national, it's just, bro. His whole career is a joke to me.
Can I get like a back? Can I get a backstory behind him?
He played for 2 of my teams. He played for Leon and he played for the Fire. Like, I think I can fairly say that this dude was not good. Like
he also had a brief stint for the trash version of City. Like it was, I don't know, man. Nettie was an interesting dude, man. I don't know. Like to me, he was I feel like he was in some form or fashion like a cult hero for depending on the Mexican fan that you talk to. Like he was someone that like, oh, it's a love-hate relationship. Like, he was supposed to be so good. It didn't pan out for XYZ reason. And he's just the epitome of wasted potential. But the Fire, bro, he was non-existent. I felt like I don't know if you have any of those stats, John, but it was bad, bro. It was. I
can pull him up quick.
Yeah, Nettie was. I mean, at the Fire, just for anybody who didn't tune in, I mean, he was the exact opposite of Cuauhtemoc Blanco for the Fire.
Literally the exact
opposite.
Opposite.
Just didn't do anything for them.
Man had 8 games, right?
Yeah.
He played 487 minutes, had no goals, no assists.
Yeah.
Just
as someone who's supposed to be a prodigy for the Mexican national team.
Yeah.
Masterclass.
In 2007,
dude, sign him up.
In 2000, no, legit. In 2007, he had that performance at the Copa America where everyone was just raving about him.
Yeah.
And that's what also helped him get the move to City, because at the same time, he had this good. Go ahead.
That was the Brazil game, right?
Yeah, that game.
Yeah,
who knew this was going to turn into the what if talk of the Mexican national team?
There's too many of those players in our history, bro. There's too many of those players.
In 2009, I was in middle school, right? I was like 6th or 7th grade. When I went back to school, or whatever it was, if it was summer break, I don't know. But when we were in school, Neri Castillo was God to us, bro. Neri Castillo was him.
How have I never heard of this guy?
We had just
because he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. MLS, bro.
He literally led us to victories against one of the most powerful Brazilian sides the world has ever seen, and then he just disappeared. He just disappeared, bro.
Off the face of the earth, and then
when I did it, boys. That's
know what? Like people like to say, it's the hope that kills you. And when he signed for Leon, I was like, oh, you know what? This guy is like kind of decent. You know, maybe we could turn his career. Nope. Did not happen.
He literally hasn't done anything since. Nothing noteworthy. Everybody just forgot about him, and for how big his personality really was, it's just amazing to me. It's like one of those. He had
Zlatan. I am not one of the bottle. I think I am the special one.
He literally had that mentality, bro. If you heard him talking to media, bro, it was crazy.
With no charm though, like no riz. He didn't even
zero
riz, bro.
Stealing none of our girls.
Zero. I mean,
he just believed he was that dude. Like I don't know how else to say it.
He had one real famous moment, real famous quote. I guess infamous. Whenever it was like in a press conference, and how he was saying how this is why you guys are here and why I'm in Greece. Talking
yeah,
to like what are you talking about? And
He's like,
after that,
it's
it just
literally what
spiraled. It just spiraled, bro.
Yo,
Oh,
this just
fucking
reminds
cool.
me of like Bettner, Lord Bettner.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. That is a
literally.
perfect
If you had to
comparison.
describe,
Just
yeah, perfect.
perfect
Kind of
comparison.
delusional.
Kind of crazy.
Riz.
You're like, dude, is this
Yeah.
guy okay? Like, is he good? And,
Dude,
but
that's
still,
so
every now and
bad.
then scores a
Yeah.
goal, maybe like here and there. I don't know, bro. He just, yeah. AJ, that's a perfect comparison, bro. 100%.
The streets will never forget Neri Castillo. Never.
Yes, never forget. And
now I know. Now I
bad
know
way.
about him. So
Now Xiaoyan learned
But
something.
MLS
I
fans
like
never
that,
will.
bro. This is now an educational show. I like that. I fuck with
You like
that.
to educate people around you too. right?
Yes, I wake up MLS. Your educational MLS show. All right, now boys, a little bit of a drum roll. This one hurts, man. This one really hurts.
Oh, I know who it is.
Yes, everybody knows who it is, man. Talk about
It's got to be.
yes, it's got to be. I'm not gonna hype it up anymore. Pain, boys, pain. The number one flop to a lot of the diehard MLS fan base. Not even just the Red Bulls fan base, but the MLS fan base and who that fan really is. Rafa Marquez was supposed to be, I don't know, just a complete game changer for the league. And in no way, shape, or form, I think, really was he. He was an absolute staple in the Mexican national side, 5 World Cups, won a Champions League with Barcelona, was a staple in that side before the turf monster came up and grabbed him. Towards ACL and kind of wasn't really the same since then. But bro, talk about someone who just didn't do anything. And I bet you anything he really thought he was coming into a league to kind of just right off into the sunset. I really think he believed that.
I think he was, but the funny thing is though, he still won. He still captained Leon to back-to-back championship.
Yes,
so that's why.
But he wasn't
that's
captain
what I
based
mean.
on performances. We can all
no. But I'm talking about leadership wise and all that. That's why to me he's number one because of what he did at Leon and what he still did at Atlas at the latter half of his career. He was still able, and he went to the 2018 World Cup. Like this is like 2010. This is 8 years after. Won two championships in Mexico. Still was able to perform to be in the starting 11 of that Leon team in the team that we won. Like. It's crazy to me how he performed this bad in MLS, went back to Mexico and performed even better. It's crazy. He had a very good 2014 World Cup too. I think he scored a goal in that World Cup as well. So like, it's crazy to me that he performed this bad.
And he was never available. He was never available.
No, he wasn't.
He had I think almost 87 between 70 and 80 games in MLS. He played.
Yeah.
It already gone. 36 games available. That dude, bro, how much? Anybody know how much they spent on him? Because I have no idea. But
I'd argue
holy
Pirlo
shit.
was worse than Rafa Marquez.
Really?
Why?
Yeah, I think they're on that same level. Yeah.
No, but you got to remember though, at the time that Rafa Marquez came in and at the time that Pirlo came in, completely different age, completely different
eras.
Eras, and then also
I found it.
Pedigree that you had was this kind of player that played for Barcelona.
Yes,
he was in the back line with Puyol, like
Puyol, yeah, with Sambrota, bro. Like, look, and more.
No, I'll let the Mexicans do their thing. I don't know if he should be. I don't think he should be number one. But obviously, you guys have some built-up testosterone about this.
4.6 million per season, and we talked about Neri Castillo and his fiery personality. Rafa had a little bit of that too. I don't know if you guys remember this. He had that quote where he was in the locker room and he literally told his teammates they were not on his level.
Yeah, he did.
Told his teammates they're not on his level.
When was this? Like context? Can I get a bit more context?
And Jose, if we're not mistaken, Henry was part of that locker room, wasn't he?
Henry was part of that locker room. Yeah,
yes.
Henry was in that locker room.
But either way, look, doesn't matter who it is.
You know what I'm
Was Wright Phillips part of that team at the time?
No.
And he was later, right? He was later.
I think he was then.
But
I don't know. I gotta look that up, man. But they had some ballers.
For him to say that is completely out of line, unacceptable. And then, I mean, one of the worst recipes in MLS is making a center back a DP, which, if I'm not mistaken, he was a DP.
Yes.
I mean, and then also, didn't the commissioner Garber, hasn't he said publicly that he regrets?
I was talking about but that feeds into like the beef between like Mexico and US and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, like Rafa was still a good signing for the league. It's just that Garber didn't like it because it like reinforced the fact that MLS is a retirement league. And like that, we're paying an arm and a leg for a DP who, again, doesn't do anything. My issues with him were the expectation and then throwing your teammates under the bus the way that you did, bro. Like, it's just someone who's probably going to coach the Mexican side at some point.
But yet again, his attitude didn't also change because you saw it. I'm telling you, I saw it with Leon. Like, when we signed him, I figured, this guy's just going to come in here and retire. He did not. He actually surprised me with the way that he actually changed his mindset and the way that he led that team. Like, it was completely different than but my expectations when he came to us. Because I figured after New York, you're basically done. He wasn't. He proved me wrong.
That's fair, but little known fact, I think just with how he approached the MLS league, the game in general, maybe he just didn't take the league seriously. Yeah, I think he didn't want to be here. So he ended his final 2 seasons in MLS, both of them in playoff games, getting red cards.
Yeah,
both of them elimination games, and got red cards in both of them. No leader does that. Like, no true leader does that to your team. You don't abandon your team that way.
And it's to the point that I said that some DPs. Yeah, some DPs just come into the league and they just don't care. He was unfortunately one of those. Like, sucks to say, I just don't think he cared.
I wouldn't.
He's one of the biggest names ever.
Rafa Marquez was in my top 3. I need to double check.
Yeah, let me say. I can tell you right now. In terms of Rafa.
Oh no, sorry, he was not. He was way lower on my list.
For Xiaoyan, he was like at the midway point. AJ had him the highest. But like Rafa was in literally everybody's list. Everybody's. Like
for the record, Xiaoyan, I'm not Mexican.
Yes, bro. Yes, and so there you go. There's not really a bias there, Xiaoyan.
No, I know, but I will say I agree with you. Probably out of all the players on this list, he's the one that arguably had the most pedigree. But I will say I think it's your guys' judgment is a bit more clouded because he's like arguable. I know no one's gonna like this, but for me, my number 1 wasn't even mentioned in this video. He wasn't even in the honorable mentions.
Yeah, Xiaoyan's number 1, by the way, was Pity Martinez, Gonzalo Nicolas Martinez. Which,
no,
I mean,
yes.
Why
Xiaoyan would be higher?
Wait. I can defend this pick. I'll defend this pick. He had so much expectation. The guy was South American Player of the Award that Pele, Maradona, Zico, who like countless big name players have won. Neymar, and he came to MLS and he was terrible. He had the worst. I thought he was gonna tear it up. He was so mid. Harry Ship was as good as him.
AJ's pissed right now. Atlanta United fan. Atlanta United fan. Go ahead.
No. So basically, it's this. Like, he actually won trophies here. He scored a goal to help win us a cup. Like,
that's true.
I
did score 7 goals for I don't think United. He did.
Yeah, and so
what cup did you guys win?
Probably in the top 10. So we won U.S.
What cup
Open
did they
Cup.
win?
Yeah, I didn't know they won the U.S. Open Cup on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on! Don't count the Campeones Cup, bro. I don't want to hear that.
Campeones Cup.
That's why he said a cup.
It's a trophy.
He said a cup.
A cup. Yeah, no.
I don't know. For me, I can never forgive what the amount of excitement Pity Martinez gave to me. Like, you had MLS had. Thing is with Rafa Marquez, he was on.
Oh man, I feel sorry for you, man.
Like, hey, look, Xiaoyan, devil's advocate. If he was that bad, why did he move for just under $20 million to Al Nassr?
To the Saudi league?
It doesn't matter. The transfer fee is there. They don't have to pay that money.
But it's Saudi though.
But they don't have to pay the money. They don't have to pay it.
But that's pre-Ronaldo. Yeah. That's pre-Ronaldo. You know.
Oh, God, bro. It's true. Yeah, maybe everybody followed Pity Martinez into the Saudi league, not Ronaldo.
Facts.
I don't know. For me, that's like that one stung. That one was, dude, how do you come in as South American Player of the Year, an award that the greats of the sport have won?
I feel like you could argue Barca was as bad.
Well, Barca was pretty bad. Barca was pretty bad. But Barca didn't have as high of a ceiling, in my opinion, like as pity.
Now you're looking at accolades historically from that part of the world, right? Does that measure up to Rafa, who Champions League winner, started in a Barcelona back line? It's one thing to play for River Plate. It's another thing.
I agree with you guys on that. But the thing is, too, with Rafa, I watched him only at the Red Bulls, so I couldn't compare him to anything else. I never watched him at Lyon, Barcelona, for Mexico. I only saw him at the Red Bulls. I know he wasn't good.
I will not drag Gerard Piqué. I mean, nobody plays for 15 years as the starting center back of Barcelona and win what he's won.
Piqué, though.
Yeah, it's the thing. I will not drag Piqué, but Piqué only got that shot because Marquez got hurt. Marquez was like a staple. I think Puyol, they complement each other well. Puyol was the aggressor. Marquez was the calm, cool, collected one on the ball. And that's why it makes all the stories you heard while at the Red Bulls just make you just shake your head in disbelief. It didn't make sense to me. He had such an ego.
It just doesn't seem like something that
he would do.
The stat line, it just doesn't seem like him.
Yeah.
You know?
Rafa gets no credit.
What's up?
Rafa really gets little to no credit with that Barca side. He was really good, but also Rafa has this character that a lot of us don't really know about. Maybe it showed a little bit with MLS, and obviously going off of the player talk. When you win a tournament in Liga MX after you shit the bed in MLS, I mean, that says a lot. But I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but we also remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but Rafa Marquez had a huge problem with, like, I think it was customs agents. He had like bank accounts frozen. I mean, it got real nasty. It got real nasty where he was getting in like money laundering.
Are we counting this as his?
I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just
the whole resume, Xiaoyan.
I'm just saying. It as a person in life, there's moments where you have, you're not in your best moments. I think that at the Red Bulls around that time, he probably wasn't in a good moment.
We're dragging him in the mud.
No, we're not dragging him in the mud. This is just facts. This shit that was out there.
This guy couldn't hold his marriage together. He didn't know how to count up his money.
We pulled the tax records out. Look at this shit, bro.
You can say this about a lot of Barca players, unfortunately.
Hey, the guy you're wearing.
First off, that's a Spanish thing, not a Barca thing. That's
the guy that you're wearing. The guy in the back of that jersey too. He's guilty for that.
No, I mean it's settled. I wouldn't say guilty; it's settled. But at the end of the day, like at the end of the day, right? I think the Europe's got some crazy ass tax laws, bro. Maybe Spain specifically. But with that said, Rafa I think what John is saying is probably the most accurate. It's one of the worst spells, not just by him, but by a player with that much leadership and that much experience that I've ever seen. It really was, and that's why Rafa for me he wasn't my number one because it just wasn't my club. Denilson was, but like I can totally see Rafa being number one. It was a really bad
I'll
shot.
definitely agree that I would now put him in my top three.
Yeah,
but I for me, Pity Martinez will forever be number one.
Was it the marriage that convinced you, or what?
It was the customs talk. It was the customs.
It was the taxes. The tax when you got the numbers, it gets you going.
All right, boys. That is there. It is. It's our top five, and as we always do, guys, I'll reel off really quick the names that didn't make it in this list. Xiaoyan had a good amount of them. Post the honorable mention, we had guys like Jefferson, right? Soteldo.
Yeah, Jefferson Soteldo was like terrible too.
Terrible. He was bad, but his stint was very brief. Very brief.
But isn't that what makes it so much more worse?
Yeah, but I don't know but the expectation doesn't match what some of these guys that we had in our list were. Like
he was supposed to be like the next but like you guys think Giovinco was like one of the best in MLS history. Like he was supposed to be the next Giovinco.
But no one I will say this about Giovinco. He was good at Juve, but I don't think anybody saw what he was going to do in MLS coming. I don't think anybody saw it.
No, I know, but that's what Soteldo was supposed to be, was the next Giovinco for Toronto.
That's fair.
Only to like Toronto people. Yeah. I don't think the rest of the league had those expectations.
Only the Canadians. I mean, let's be real, they don't really count. Okay, so moving on, we had Pity Martinez in here. Brian Rodriguez, which I honestly I don't really know much about him coming into this. Sean Maloney was a very interesting shout, John had that one pretty high up in his list. Sean Maloney didn't really get a ton of love from us on this, but he was pretty high up there. Guys, the name that especially Xiaoyan, the name that I was expecting to see somebody who supports Argentines or knows of South American soccer in general, Marcelo Gallardo. No one said that, dude. He quite literally
that's
was a
actually a good
legend
question.
before he came into, at least in Argentina, was definitely a legend before he came into MLS. Nobody
who
gave
that
that man a
is.
shout. Dude played for PSG, River Plate, Monaco. Didn't do shit in MLS for DC United. They got him out there that same season. You have no idea who that is?
I don't know who that is.
Well, you
I
know
have
Pity
no idea who
Martinez.
that is.
What do you mean? How would I, dude?
Damn.
Bro,
But it's
I wasn't
also
wa-
it's why he's like shit on this league as well. Marcelo Gallardo like probably will not want to ever coach in this league because of that. Even though we just transferred his son in to our twos team, but still.
did he?
Either
Oh,
way,
did he really? I didn't
Was
know
he really that bad?
we just did.
He just didn't do anything.
I mean-
like, Gallardo just didn't do anything. Like he wasn't.
Yeah.
He's considered one of the worst contracts and just transfers in general in MLS history. He came in 08, transferred out in 09.
You know, someone we could add. The book isn't closed on him yet, but he's probably gonna go down in this list.
Insigne?
Lorenzo Insigne.
No, for sure. I was debating on putting him
Bernardeschi.
in, but I don't know.
Bernardeschi
I don't
too.
know.
No, Bernardeschi was decent. He's decent.
No, Bernardeschi's been all right. But the thing is, the reason why I was gonna put him in here, I just don't feel like it's fair to put players that are still playing in the league because they're just not done yet.
Yeah,
So-
because by that logic, right, you could also include guys like Amro Tarek. You could include Rigoni.
Jordan Shaqiri.
Hey, slow
Shaqiri.
down, slow down. Rigoni still has a chance. Rigoni still has a chance to completely switch it around.
How many goals has he scored? Two. And how long has he been there? A
Two.
season, technically. Well, if you put it all together, almost a season,
half.
right?
Two.
No,
About
I feel
1.5,
like
1.5.
Driussi's worse. Driussi's worse. You know. Like,
Driussi had an MVP season, brother.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
22
Wait,
goals.
a question I have for everybody because we brought him up: who's a bigger flop, Insigne or Shaqiri?
Insigne.
Insigne.
Because at least Shaqiri's got one
Whoa.
moment.
I said it before Insigne signed.
But both
in
teams
MLS.
are shit. I don't think it
Relax.
matters if that
Let
one
me-
moment
let
is
me-
anything.
let me
Relax.
Let me cook.
Don't talk about both teams are shit.
Okay,
Because at
fine.
least
A positive bounce for the first time in a long time.
Okay, but that's fair though, because you got to look at the sample sizes. Insigne hasn't really played much.
Because he's
Shaqiri
hurt.
has.
What's Shaqiri's contract though?
Second highest played player
At
in the
least
league.
Shaqiri scoring his penalties.
He
Insigne
was the
can't.
highest at
That's
one
actually
point.
fair. That's a fair point. He's actually scoring.
He was
He's actually
the
scoring.
highest before Messi joined.
Yeah.
He was.
So
I don't know.
It's
That's
baffling,
a
though.
lot of
production.
expectation.
I'm not one to say numbers are everything, but I can see from being at games all the time, he's not it. He's
Guys,
too demanding.
Well, I
too
know
much
he's not
pressure.
it, but
He's not. Like
Insigne
no,
is
like, you can
a
just
better
tell, though.
player than Shaqiri. Like, yeah.
No,
So-
literally,
I think
like
so. I
It
think so.
should be.
okay, Shaqiri walks around that pitch like he's him, and he's not.
but he does at least like.
Every
I don't
once
know.
in a blue moon, you'll score a banger.
I mean, you can't say the same for Insigne. That's
Sample
I
size.
don't know. To me, they're
Sample
both
size.
wildly overpaid players, and like at the end of the day, I think we're splitting hairs if we really have to pick which one's been worse.
But
think
I
both
was
of
just
them have been
curious
bad.
because I did a video a long time ago before Insigne joined saying Shaqiri was going to be better than Insigne. And it's panning out that I ended up being pretty much right.
Yeah, that's fair.
This league
That's
is
fair.
built a little bit more for Shaqiri than Insigne.
It
Fair.
is. It is, which is why he should be performing better. And that's why I think there is some argument to be made that Shaqiri could be the biggest flop or one of the biggest ones, considering what the expectation was.
But he chooses
And how much he
to
makes.
perform.
Yes.
He chooses to perform when he wants to because all of a sudden, when Ezra got sacked, he's doing well. What?
Hashtag justice for my guy Ezra, former Sounders assistant coach.
No,
I
for
want
real.
him.
Like honestly, I liked the guy. He's a good guy.
I liked him too.
He's a good guy.
He's a good
I
dude.
just- I don't even. To be fair, I don't know why he got sacked, but the team's been performing better, so I can't complain.
Terrible front office. Okay, all right. So
Facts. Facts.
with that said, boys, that was our list, man. I like this one. I think the next one we're probably going to start digging into some things positionally. I think there's been a lot of insane transfers that come to this league, guys who've exited the league, which is what we did in episode 2, and that leads me to the promo that's going live tomorrow. For anybody who's tuning in to Wake Up MLS, we go live Friday mornings, and episode 2 will go live this coming Friday. The best players to have ever exited the league and gone on to have careers abroad. a lot of debate and banter, some controversy with the top 3, top 4. Xiaoyan was not happy about it. And you can catch all of that on Wake Up MLS on GOLZ TV. All right, guys. So from everybody here at Wake Up MLS, it was great bantering with everybody. The next episode is going to be a banger. I can already see where all this is going. And we're, again, the only show where the only thing more important than your ball knowledge is your ability to defend your picks. For everybody here at Wake Up MLS, my name's Jose. That's the crew. We'll catch you guys next time.